Yo, what it do, my nation family? Welcome. Anybody who shows up, anybody who's in here, happy late Thanksgiving. Hope everybody got nice and stuffed, ate all the, turkey, ham, and sides that they could possibly shove down their throat and fit in their stomach. Some of us have to loosen our pants after Thanksgiving. Hope everybody got to spend time with their families. But Thanksgiving is over. It is Black Friday. Hopefully, it'll be Black Sunday for the San Diego, the Los Angeles Chargers. Did I just say that? Show my age right off the rip. Um, so yeah, a home invasion, right? Home invasion. We know SoFi will be silver and blacked out. The Raiders have not won in SoFi except for one time when there was no fans in the building. During the COVID years. So big weekend coming up for us, but a bigger weekend for the Chargers, right? The Chargers are coming off a blowout. Um, they just got murked, absolutely murked by the Jacksonville Jaguars. And not a good look, right? Not a good look when you're up there battling in November. It's about to be December. We've heard Tom Brady talk about so many times that football doesn't start. Sorry, man, it's cold outside. My nose running, stuffed up, about to storm. But yeah, man, we've heard Tom Brady talk about it, lots and lots of times. And other people, geez Louise, how football does not start until, after Thanksgiving, November and December. So it's time for teams to turn it up. The Chargers coming off, a blowout. They had a little bye week, so they got 10 days to prepare for the Las Vegas Raiders and their new OC, Greg Olson. We will get into that. Also, we will talk about Tom Brady. We will talk about Pete Carroll and the firing of Chip Kelly and what this does for his future. And we're also, going to break down and preview this game, the injury report, break down a little stats, and just talk football, man. Right now, there's two football games going on. Indiana and Purdue. We don't even have to watch that game. Purdue is 2-9. They're looking like the Raiders out there. Aiden O'Connell's former team. Um, and then you have Texas, and the undefeated Texas A&M battling out for battling for the state rivalry week. Not a high scoring game, right? It's a game of nothing but defense. So if you like college football and if you're into defensive games, man, turn over there, pop up, watch the game. Let me put this chat up. I don't even know who the hell's in the building. Shout out to all my people in the building. How was y'all's Thanksgiving? Let me know what you are thankful for in the comments below, if you would, please. Um, Shout out Candy Angel, first one in the building. Jason Ruiz, what's up, bro? What's up? Appreciate you. Greg Brewer, appreciate you. Hi, my guy. How's it going? The Cowgirls, man. Them Cowgirls are scary, bro. If you watch my live stream, which I know you were in there, but I don't know if you were in there till the end. Um, before that game, I said that Cowboys, they could be very, very deadly with that defensive front. They have some guys on the back end that can cover. And if you have guys that can cover on the back end, it makes the defensive front even better, right? They can, they can blitz 6, they can blitz 7, if you know that your backfield's going to hold up. So the Cowboys got it rolling, man. Dak Prescott, playing his best football of his career, I believe. Managing the game, leading them back from 21-0 against the Eagles. Man, are the Eagles on the downslide? So the Cowgirls, man, it's rough, bro. It's rough watching teams, that we hate be better than the teams that we love. It's a rough world, man. It's a rough world. But when you got a quarterback like this and a coach like this, what can you expect? And it's not all Geno's fault, I know. But I'm gonna give him shit because he made the nation hate him. He came in and he had a chance to be the hero, right? Geno Smith had a chance to come in, make all the fans love him. Just don't turn the ball over. Keep us in games. Maybe win us a couple, right? With that great, 74% accuracy over the last 3 years. And he could have been a hero, right? The Raiders have been searching for a hero for a long, long time. Nobody believed in Derek Carr. Nobody still believes in Aiden O'Connell, who is, you know, we won't even get into that. So Geno Smith had every opportunity to win the fans over. Everybody was on his side in Seattle when he was giving the double birds, right, to the Seattle fan that was holding up a sign saying who's the biggest bust, Jamarcus Russell or Geno Smith. I think we all know the answer to that. We won't go too deep into that question. But again, Geno Smith, man, he had all the opportunity, like I said, to win over the fans, right? Raider Nation has been dying for a hero. We've been dying for somebody to believe in besides Max Crosby, right? At least I have. So, they took Derek Carr away from a lot of us that, thought it was a bad idea when you don't have a backup plan and we're still paying the price. We had a guy that could have smoothed it over until we found that guy, but we're just not a smart enough franchise to use the people we have in the building in the right opportunities and the right positions. So for Geno Smith, man, it's been a long, long year. And like I said, you had the chance to be that hero, and the nation would have flocked to you. There was people buying your jerseys when you were just handed a job, not even having to compete for it. And you had the nation in the palm of your hands, and you shit the bed, my guy. So but what's new? What's new in the Raider Nation? This is what seems to happen, once in a while. Besides Gannon and Jim Plunkett, I don't think any quarterback has come over here and done what we expected them to do. Most of them, I'll take that back. I think Hostetler came and played his ass off. There has been guys, but not what we expected, not what we need in the nation. So it's been a rough year, man. A rough year. What was I talking about? Tom Brady's all in the news, right? Chip Kelly's all in the news. The Raiders and Pete Carroll are all in the news. We're going to break down each one, and we'll just start first. Tom Brady, man. Tom Brady, a lot of people expected, right, to come in here, to turn this franchise around, to make the wise decisions. And right now it's backfiring, right? He didn't want Sam Darnold. He tried to get the best quarterback in the NFL right now as we speak, and a guy that's probably going to win another Super Bowl. That would be 2 since he left Seattle. So, I mean, not Seattle, Detroit. Had skiing trips with him. Tried to get another quarterback. And they went with Geno as the second option. Not a great idea. There was a lot of free agents. Tom Brady didn't want Sam Darnold. There's a lot of talks between Chip Kelly butting heads with Pete Carroll, that it was a Tom Brady guy. There's been a lot of talks between the nation on this channel. How much influence will Tom Brady have? How much say will he have, knowing that he's a broadcaster and has other obligations? And, it didn't look good. There was already a whole bunch of smoke and stuff blowing up when the last Chargers game, I do believe it was the Chargers game, he had the headset on, talking to, Chip Kelly or whoever he was not talking to, just listening in. So far it's been nothing but a distraction and a problem. He's brought in Spy Tech. I need a haircut. What you mean I need a haircut, bro? I got a hat on. Tripping, bro. I look like Joe Biden. All right, now you just trolling, my guy. Now you just trolling. I don't even know what the hell I was. Thanks for distracting me. But Tom Brady, man, brings in Geno. He brings in Pete Carroll. He tried to get Ben Johnson. But is Mark Davis the main problem? Let's talk about Mark Davis, right? So, Ben Johnson, Tom Brady does everything he can to get this man in the building. He has an over-the-phone opportunity interview, right? They talk to him. He doesn't come back for the second interview because as soon as they're done talking to him, the Bears just offer him a whole shit ton of money, $13 million a season to be exact, $64 million for 5 years. The Raiders are paying Pete Carroll 15, at least from what's out there, what's being said. Don't quote me on that. $15 million per season for 3 years for a 74-year-old head coach. Did the Raiders fail on Ben Johnson? Obviously. But if they move on from Pete Carroll, are they just going to fail again? I feel like when you have a guy like Ben Johnson and you look at the Chicago Bears at the moves they made, they went and traded for two who probably might be all pro guards this year and tackle. Uh, they made a difference to that offensive line. They have a running back that the Eagles didn't want and went and got Saquon Barkley running for over 100 yards today. His backup running for over 100 yards today. They're smashing the ball on the ground. They're throwing the ball through the air, and we all know what Ben Johnson was capable of with his time with the Detroit Lions. But the Raiders talked to him first. The Raiders had him in the building, and they let this man walk away, obviously because of money. Because if they would have just offered him $15 million, maybe he would have took the job. And I know the Raiders don't have a Caleb Williams. They don't have a Roma Dunze, right? They don't have, some of the players that they drafted. And the hell is the tight end's name? But yeah, you know where I'm going with this. So, right, the Bears had a lot of pieces, and they drafted a lot of pieces. But could they have kept Ben Johnson in the building for the right price? And I'm feeling like now they're in a position paying Pete Carroll all that money that if you try to go get a young head coach or even a coach that, has experience like a Robert Salah or some of these guys that have been cut recently or let go from the organization they were, coaching, that you're going to have to fork out way more money than they're willing to fork out. And their deal is going to have to be more than 3 years. It seems like Antonio Pierce, Pete Carroll 3 years. You're going to have to fork out more money, and it's going to have to be a longer time. You're going to have to give a coach that comes in, a younger head coach, opportunity and leadway to build a team, right? You're going to have to start over. Not completely. That's a good thing because you have Brock Bowers, you have Ashton Genty, you have Max Crosby for who knows how long, hopefully, for the rest of his career. But you have these pieces in place. You have a nice young rookie class. You have a JPJ. You have a DJ Glaze. You drafted 2 rookies in the 3rd round that can't see the grass. We'll get into that also here in a bit. So there's upside, right? There's reasons for a coach to come in. But when they look at the situation that's going on, any coach that comes in, his agent is definitely going to be like, bro, I need 5 years. And I need guaranteed 3 years. You can't fire me no matter what, right? No matter what I do. For the record, you're going to have to give me 3 years minimum. And then, an option for the next 2 or maybe even the next 3 or 4, right? It might have to be a 6, 7, 8 year deal. When you got Ben Johnson that comes in and gets $64 million, 13, annual per year for 5 years, you're going to have to fork out money. You give Pete Carroll $15 million per season. You give Chip Kelly $6 million per year. The Raiders are going to have to take a chance. They're going to have to take a chance. And if they do let go of Pete Carroll, they are going to have to hit on this head coaching opportunity. It can't be a miss. If it's a miss, this franchise is doomed for another 10 years, not just 2, 3, 4, possibly 5, right? They're going to waste Max Crosby's career. They're going to waste Brock Bowers' career, and they're going to waste Ashton Genty's career, and probably JPJ and DJ Glaze also. So you can't miss if you're going to fire your head coach. And you have to, if you keep them, make sure the guys in the locker room are happy, right? As an owner, if I'm Mark Davis, I'm going in and I'm talking to Max Crosby. I'm going in and I'm talking to JPJ. How do you feel about moving to guard? What was the deal? Why do you think you were moved from center to guard, right? If I'm the owner, I want to know what is going on in my building. And I don't think Mark Davis is enough, around enough or cares enough about what's going on inside the locker room, inside the building, or with his players. We know he has a relationship with Max, but other than that, I mean, how many guys I know 2 guys that have been on the team for 2 years and never even met Mark Davis or were introduced to him or shook his hand. Like, how many owners have people on the team that you don't even know has never even met you? So for an owner, You have to be more involved. You can't just put people, in place to be involved, because how do you know they're telling you the truth? How do you know what they're feeding you is the truth if you're not seeing it with your own eyes and you're not observing it yourself? So if the Raiders don't get it right on the next head coaching cycle or with Pete Carroll, it's man, it's gonna get worse. We're gonna have another 2-3 win season, 2-3 win season, and it doesn't matter if we get a first round quarterback or a first round quarterback and a first round tackle and a first round tackle after that. We can have 3 picks in the first round. None of that is going to matter if they don't get this coaching cycle right. If they don't make sure that Pete Carroll is the guy and the players in the locker room want him to be the guy, right? Maybe they turn it around with Greg Olson. We'll get to Greg Olson in a bit, but this coaching thing has to get right, man. It has to be the guy no matter what, right? Whether it's a Chris Shula, like I said, one of these young guys. There's plenty of names out there. You have to get it right. Brian Flores, whoever, Mike LaFleur, maybe even possibly Matt LaFleur, maybe not after the win last this weekend, but you have to make sure that the guy is right. And if you don't, then it doesn't matter the draft picks, right? Because we have the best tight end in all of football, or at least the top three. Because in my opinion, there's a couple more that are right there. Colson Loveland. There's a couple that were drafted this year. There's a couple, like McBride for the Cardinals. There's a lot. There's a lot. Green Bay. There's a lot of good young tight ends that are going to be the future for a long, long time. So Brock is definitely up there in the top 5. The best, I don't know. When you have quarterbacks like this in an offense that can't block, it's hard for him to show that he is the best. But we've had him for 2 years, right? It hasn't helped us win games. It hasn't helped us put points on the board because the coaching staff doesn't know how to use them or get them open, and we don't have enough weapons for anybody else to worry about other than Brock. So then you draft Ashton Genty. I know I'm rambling. Then you draft Ashton Genty, and you have no. If you want something to talk about, comment, bro. There's 5 people in here. What you want me to do? You have Ashton Genty. You draft in the 6th round. We all know about that. Some say it was a bad pick. Some say he could be the future. Some say he's generational. I said he was possibly, I thought he was generational. I just don't see it now with the vision. Maybe it's the scheme. But I'm saying you have players that we've drafted that haven't done much to turn this around in a year, 2 years, right? Because of coaching. Pete Carroll might be a great coach, but I don't think he's connected enough with these younger players that are 23, 24 years old, right? So head coaching is the number one thing the Raiders have to figure out. And maybe this game, if they win or lose, and maybe they already know. Maybe they already know which way they're going. Maybe they have a head coach in mind. But head coach is number one, man. We have to get this cycle right, or it's just going to continue to be the same old. Chip Kelly, man, there's been a report, right? And I think this has to do with Pete Carroll. This is the next topic, not just rambling. I think this has to do with Pete Carroll firing guys, trying to save his own ass, right? Because at this point, you've already let go of Tom McMahon, your special teams coordinator. Now you're letting go of Chip Kelly, who reports was a Tom Brady guy, right? Which makes all the sense in the world. They tried to get Chip Kelly last year. Chip Kelly didn't want to come last year. They offered him a shit ton of money last year. He didn't want to take it. He stayed. He won a national championship at Ohio. This year, they bring in Chip Kelly. He was asked by a reporter, what made you want to come to Las Vegas? He said Tom Brady. Tom basically recruited me and made me want to come here. So Tom Brady brings in Chip Kelly, right? Makes him come here. Pete Carroll fires him. There's got to be some kind of friction there between your minority owner, Pete Carroll, which a guy, who we lost to in the Super Bowl, kind of like our what? I just thought about this. Why do we have two head coaches in the last 2 years? One that's beat Tom Brady in the Super Bowl and one that's lost to Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. It's kind of weird. But anyways, so Chip Kelly was fired. Now there's reports coming out that Chip Kelly was calling plays, but was in failing to inform the quarterback Geno Smith which way the motion was supposed to run, which way the blocking scheme was supposed to run. And supposedly Geno Smith is on the fly out there trying to make these plays work and just scrambling. If that's the case and you don't know the play, right? Aren't you going to get out of the pocket instantly? Aren't you going to roll the hell out of the pocket, try to throw on the run, make something happen? Because you're not just going to stand back there with a bad offense that you know cannot protect a bologna sandwich. Like, bro, how the hell can you sit here and say Geno doesn't know the play? So to me, it looks like Pete Carroll and the Raiders organization are, throwing shit out there for people to try to catch on to and hoping it sticks to make it look like Pete Carroll isn't drastically failing at trying to turn this team around, at developing players. You have 2 third-round picks, offensive linemen. One, a lot of people said, maybe towards the end of the year, maybe next year. But then why the hell do you take him in the third round? If he's going to take a whole year to develop, why do you take him in the third round? Most of the NFL, if you draft a player in the third round and by week 13, they're not able to get on the field when you're 2-9, that's horrible development. Horrible development. So was that Chip Kelly? Was it Brandon Carroll? Was it Pete Carroll? Pete Carroll's the head coach, right? You're bringing in the guys to help develop these young guys. If you're walking around at practice high-fiving people and not paying attention to how the practice goes, or you have people rolling around with balls or doing stupid circus acts, then how are you paying attention to how these guys are developing, how it's going? Every week we hear the same thing, right? It was a great practice, excellent, Super Bowl style, A1 practice, and then they go shit the bed. So Chip Kelly being fired, reports are bad play calling. The team wasn't prepared. They didn't know the plays. They were calling plays that weren't even on the play calling sheet, that they have not practiced. So if you're calling plays that nobody's even practiced and nobody knows the language for, which, I mean, it's the NFL, bro. You could, if you're a quarterback for 15 years and you can't figure out a play call by the language, then there's something wrong. Which we all know there's something wrong anyways. So bad look for the Las Vegas Raiders. Pete Carroll and this organization just keep making himself look bad. Pete's making the organization look bad by going out and, letting these reports fly out of the building. Tom Pelissero, I'm sure, is not going to come just make shit up, right, or lie. If those are the rumors going around, Pete Carroll was never on the same page. There's also another report that Chip Kelly and Pete Carroll didn't even talk on a daily basis. How do you come up with a game plan for a team if your head coach and your OC are not talking on a daily basis? So just more mud for the Las Vegas Raiders. We talked about the Ben Johnson. We talked about that. Greg Olson effects, man. Let's get into the Greg Olson effects. Greg Olson knows Geno Smith. I don't know. I don't have this chat up. Why am I the Raider coach? Shit, I don't know. Because I don't have a high school diploma. Because I didn't graduate. Because I don't have a GED. Because I worked construction all my life and ran a company. Like, I don't know, bro. I don't know. Who else just had a seizure 10 times ago because someone decided to have flashing lights in a live stream? What flashing lights, bro? What are you talking about? Are there lights flashing? Are you just coming here to troll? All right. So the Greg Olson effect, man. Greg Olson has this will be his third stint with the Las Vegas Raiders, 2 as offensive coordinator, 3 as quarterback coach. A Greg Olson offense, right? I don't know how many of y'all have been Raiders fans, or if you're Raider fans, but a Greg Olson offense back in the day had a tight end, James Cook. Some of y'all might remember him, some of y'all might not. Um, Led the league in attempts. I do believe in attempts, in yards. Also worked with Darren Waller, with John Gruden. We all know Darren Waller was one of the best tight ends when he was with the Raiders, barring injuries. So we have 4 great tight ends, right? We have Brock Bowers. You have Michael Mayer, who has an ankle injury and is listed as out, I do believe. Don't know where he got hurt. Was trying to find it so I could show it. But I don't know. Nobody asked, so don't know where it happened on the play. But it might have had something to do that he dropped a couple passes, like 4 or 5 in that game. That Michael Mayer's not out there. But you have Carter Runyon, who I believe is one of the most athletic tight ends we have on the squad. Then you have Ian Thomas, who's been playing pretty good as well. So you still got 3 tight ends. You can still run, 12 personnel, 13 personnel, which I think against the Chargers, if you want to get this run game going, I have a feeling Greg Olson's going to pull out all the stops, use the tight ends to his advantage, try to be physical, try to play bully ball, which is John Gruden's style, right? John Gruden's style is always, a little bit of bully ball with a whole bunch of, deep passes. Is Pete the GM? Is that a rhetorical question or no? But he's been pretty much the head coach and GM, de facto GM everywhere he's went. He makes most of the decisions. And from what I hear, the little birdie in my ear says Pete has full reign of who comes, who goes. Right? You bring in Jermaine Pratt, you release him. You could have traded Jermaine Pratt and been like, man, this dude's played well for us. He had decent stats, right? You could have traded him for a 6th round, a 5th round, 6th or 7th round, possibly. Could have got something out of him. Instead, they just released the man. Jermaine Pratt goes over to the Colts and he's balling out. So Pete Carroll has all the say, right? He got to bring in his quarterback. He got to bring in, his 2 sons to help coach. We know he has his hands in the offense. We know he has way too much control of the defense because they don't ever blitz. Patrick Graham blitzed way more last year. This Raiders defense was way better when they blitzed, when they at least bring 6 or 7. Pete Carroll doesn't allow him to do that. So, yes, Pete Carroll is not the GM. It is John Spytek. But I think John Spytek is just like, man, you do whatever you want. If it doesn't work out this year, there might be some people moving on. But he had full control in Seattle over the roster, over the draft, over the trades, right? The guys he brought in, the guys he released, the guys he kept, the guys he favored, which there's always been a lot of that in the Pete Carroll system. So, no, he's not the GM, but he is the main problem. He is the main problem. You are the coach. Greg Olson is also, going to open up this running game. He's going to simplify things, right? He's going to know the plays that he's calling, which, damn, that would be a big change. You're going to know the intent on the play, right? Are you just trying to pick up 5 yards? Are you trying to pick up, take it to the house? Because not every play you're trying to score a touchdown. Sometimes you just want to, on first down, you just want to pick up 5, 6, 7, 8. Make it an easy, second down or third down if you don't get it on second. play to your advantage, right? Be ahead of the sticks. Um, Play physical, run the ball. I feel like that's Greg Olson's style. Again, his time with John Gruden, I think is going to help. Also, time with Sean McVay. He's been all over the NFL, so a lot of different coaches. A lot of different aspects that he can bring. But again, it's week 13. You're not going to turn it around. In Greg Olson's words, right? You're not going to have a lot of wholesale changes. Maybe, possibly personnel wise, again, back to the rookies. You have 2 third-round rookies that haven't seen the grass at all. So maybe they'll be dressed. Maybe they can get some play time. But there's a lot to there's a lot to work, a lot of work to be done, right? The offensive line, and if you can just, like I said, simplify things, just make it easier for the guys. Know when you're running the ball that, man, this is the intent, right? We're not just out here blocking to hope to God Ashton Genty can take it for the house. We have a purpose. We're running the ball because we need 3 yards to pick up this first down, right? We're running the ball because it's second down and we're trying to get closer to the sticks to make it an easier, manageable second or third, right? So with intent, and I haven't seen any intent from the Raiders. It looked like first down, you're throwing it deep. Second down, you're getting sacked. Third down, you're getting sacked again, right? You're calling plays that are 15, 20 yards down the field, and you have a quarterback that is not willing to scramble. When he does, he'll just lay down if there's any pressure coming instead of trying to make a play and take a hit like an NFL quarterback. So you have a lot of disadvantages. And, the one advantage we have is the time that Greg Olson spent with Geno Smith in Seattle. So he knows what they did in Seattle to make it work, right? To make it easier for Geno Smith, to take some of the pressure off of Geno Smith's shoulders. Like Pete Carroll said when he was first signed, right? That's why we went and got Ashton Genty, to take the pressure off your quarterback. If you can run the ball, right? If you can average 4 yards a carry, 4.5, 5 yards a carry, they're going to have to stop the run or allow you to do it all day. So if you're running the ball, if you're moving the ball, it takes the pressure off your quarterback. It takes the pressure off your offensive line. They're not having to stand back there and pass protect, for 3, 4, 5, 6 seconds. We all know Geno has a tendency to hold the ball for a long time. And I think that's where Greg Olson is going to change things up. Keep it simple, stupid, right? The KISS subject, right? That was the motto of the band KISS, the rock and roll band. Some of y'all might know from, 80s. Keep it simple, stupid. Make it easy. Sometimes you can just go out there and, use fundamentals, use what you know, and not always try to outsmart everybody, but just out physical somebody, right? Outplay them, outwork them, outthink them. We haven't seen that, man. We haven't seen that at all this season. Could this be the game? I don't know. If anybody wants to give score predictions, you're more than welcome to give score predictions. I'll give mine at the end of this as well. Cowboys, best team in the NFL. That's debatable. That's debatable. They look very, very good right now. The Dallas Cowboys, CeeDee Lamb is playing, decent ball. George Pickens hopefully will be a Raider at the end of the year. I'm just saying, playing outstanding football. But George Pickens, when things go south, he also goes south, right? When they were losing, he wasn't playing great football. When they started winning, his numbers went way, way up. So they have weapons, man. The defensive line is nasty. They're not missing Micah Parsons whatsoever. You went and got Jalen Phillips, right? I think to fill that place, you went and got, Quentin Williams, which I'm going to stop rambling for a second. Jerry Jones said in an interview that he offered the Jets, the beginning of the season, a first-round pick and Micah Parsons for Quentin Williams. I'll repeat. Jerry Jones, 33 to 14, who? Jerry Jones said he offered to New York Jets a first-round pick and Micah Parsons for Quinnen Williams. That's how highly he thought of Quinnen Williams. They turned it down. They said no. And then somehow, 9 weeks later, 8 weeks later, decide, okay, we'll give you Quinnen Williams for a first-round pick. Jets organization, bro. Jets organization, bro. It's wild. Do you need a therapist and stop this bullshit? Do I need a therapist? No, bro. I don't need a therapist. I have a YouTube chat. What do I need a therapist for? Being a Raider fan? I mean, that's rough. I might need a Raider fan for that. I'm a huge Raiders fan, bro. Appreciate you. Official 1936. I hope that's not the date you were born. Damn, then you are a huge Raiders fan. Jack Ken in the building. Raider Nation, happy belated Thanksgiving. Shout out to you, my brother. Happy Thanksgiving to you and yours. If anybody in the chat wants to put what they were thankful for this Thanksgiving, you're more than welcome. I was thankful for this YouTube channel, for being my therapy. Like Dude said, I don't really need a therapist. I just come on here and vent. I ramble. I talk a lot of shit. If people have questions, I answer them. And this is my therapy. This is my family. So I appreciate all y'all. I appreciate the ones that come in. I appreciate the ones that support every day, every time I go live, whether it's, a 2-minute warning or a 5-minute warning or, a day or 3 hours. They're in the building, right? So I appreciate y'all. Y'all know who you are. Thank you so much. The Bears look good right now. I mean, there's a lot of good teams in the NFL, bro. This is going to be a fun playoff year. It's going to be a fun playoff year. We've had some damn good defensive games. We've had some damn good offensive games, right? And it's been a battle up and down, round and round, side to side. So the Bears pulled off a hell of a win. Excuse me if y'all heard that. The Bears pulled off a hell of a win against the Eagles in dominating fashion. The Eagles might have some problems. They might be moving on from a head coach very soon. When you have one of the best receivers in all of football and A.J. Brown, who doesn't touch the football, and when he does, more than 5 times a game, it's 100 yards and a touchdown or two. When you have one of the best, running backs in all of football that is struggling tremendously, and you don't have a lot of injuries, there's a problem, man. You have Dick Fangio over there, one of the best defensive coordinators of all time. But that defense is struggling, and they have weapons, man. They have weapons. So have people just figured out the Fangio defense? Have they figured out, the Soriani offense? I don't know what's going on over there with the Eagles, but the Bears looked very, very, very good. And that's what happens, man. That's what happens when you're a franchise and you're willing to take a damn swing for the fences, when you're willing to step up to the plate and say, look, I'm in Vegas. I'm putting all my cards on the table. I'm putting all my chips on the table, and I'm going all in on a head coach for the next 5 years that's young, that's innovative, that's proven that he can run offenses, that he can beat top-ranked defenses, right? That he has some kind of strategy, right, and a blueprint to developing players, because right now the Raiders are failing drastically at developing players, bro. Dante Thornton, I knew was going to be a little bit of a project, but with his speed and his size, should have way more catches, way more yards, way more participation on game day than he's had. Jack Bech doubled that, right? He should be out there, especially since Myers has been gone, at least 80% of the snaps. If you have a guy like Max Crosby, who's played 100% of the snaps since he was a rookie, how do you expect a guy like Jack Bech, Caleb Rogers, Charles Grant, how do you expect any of these guys to get better if they don't get the same amount of snaps that you offer somebody else, right? These dudes are getting 10%, 8% of the reps out there, and they're saying they're not ready. If they're not ready, there's only one person to point the finger at, Pete Carroll. It's you. You're the coach. You brought in the coaches to develop players. And if you see your coaches not developing players, then they need to go. And not just because you have a hand in the offense that's failing and they can't run the ball, so you're firing guys, or you're firing guys for scapegoats. You need to fire guys that are not developing players, which one happens to be your son, bro. And nothing against family members, working for family members. But when that's the biggest problem on this team, and there's guys on this team that were a top 13 defense from December till the damn season ended last year, and they're bottom of the barrel this year, and you have a head coach with 40 years plus experience, something is a problem. Something is a problem, and it has to be fixed, and it has to be fixed really, really quick. So developing players is something we can't do, something the Bears and Ben Johnson, obviously Ben Johnson can develop players. He brings in guys that can develop players. He put together a hell of a coaching staff over there. And, I was surprised. I thought Ben Johnson was going to take a year or two before he got his groove in the NFL. And I was completely off on that one. Super Bowl 1986 all over again. It was the 85 Bears, but they win the Super Bowl in 86. It's just the way the season goes. So, yeah, 85, 86, whatever. 2 first-round picks. For who? For what? Who? The Bears? We need to draft a first-round quarterback this year. For what? He's just going to get murdered, bro. He's just going to get murdered. I'm thankful for meeting Chewy tonight and his brother-in-law tonight in person. Oh, nice. Y'all got to hang out? Hell yeah, that's cool, bro. That's cool. Everybody in town for the Raiders shit. Nice. Nice. Good thing to be thankful for. I'm thankful for good friends, help when I need to, and a chat. Yeah, man, I'm thankful for all that. Unleashed Raider, what's good? What's good? Appreciate you, my guy in the building. Raiders not gonna win. Sorry, man, but they are ass. I mean, yeah. Don't come in here talking about my team, bro. Only I'm allowed to say they're ass. Nah, they ass. We know. But ass teams smack teams in the mouth, right? Ass teams in a division can always come up and bite you. Ass teams, okay, they do have Joe Burrow. Like the Cincinnati Bengals, teams that have been ass can turn around and bite you, especially when you are making a playoff run, when you're in their division, when your quarterback threw 3 interceptions against them in their first meeting, right? Surprises could happen. Surprises could happen, bro. Geno Smith threw 3 interceptions against the Chargers at home in week 2. Is this a bounce back game for Geno Smith? Is this a revenge game? Can Geno Smith turn it around against the Chargers? If you have any team that you should turn it around against, right? It's a team you already have film on. You already know what they're trying to do on defense. You already know their players, right? So there's no excuses to come out and have a 3 interception game again. There's no excuses not be able to drive the ball downfield except for the offensive line. But the offensive line is trash, so roll your ass out of the pocket, make plays, and, the Raiders could surprise some teams. Their defense is ranked 14th in the NFL, right? That's not horrible. It's not great. Their offense ranked at the bottom. But you have a Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers, we seen on his first game back, 3 touchdowns, right? He can have that game like that. So when you have weapons like that, when you have a team that maybe they want their coach to be here, maybe they don't, right? Maybe they're playing for Greg Olson. Don't forget the fact that guys like Daniel Carlson, guys like Max Crosby, right? Guys like Colton Miller, who's not playing today. Guys like AJ Cole. I think all those guys were in the building when Greg Olson was there. So, maybe it lights a fire under them. Maybe Max Crosby goes out and has one of those, Myles Garrett type performances and, shocks the whole world. It could happen, bro. It could happen. There's going to be a lot of Raiders fans in LA That's the only time we've ever had home field advantage is when we go to LA. It hasn't worked out for us so far, but you never know. It can. It can. They just been asked this season. Oh, I know. I know. And throws one interception per game. I get it. I get it. And they lose by, lose by three, less than three a game, and then get blown out the next. So I know, bro, they're trash. What's up, bro? I'm a huge Raiders fan. Duncan, my guy, appreciate you. Like, subscribe, follow if you like this content. Raiders. I'm saying Raiders need a first round quarterback. Let's go Raiders. Let's go Raiders. Let's go Raiders. Andrew in the building. Let's go Raiders. Let's go Raiders. Pound down right quick, bro. What you mean, dog? What you mean, dog? All right, man. So, Geno Smith, like I said, he has to get in the groove. I think the connection with Greg Olson and the time in Seattle, knowing each other, right, having that chemistry, I think he knows how to get the best out of Geno. Hopefully, it hasn't showed being his quarterback coach all year, but hopefully, calling plays that are to Geno's strengths, right? Maybe give Geno just a little bit of confidence and knowing that, look, this play is going to be called because it's the play that he feels I can make, have the best chance of succeeding with, which I think a lot of calls were just called by Chip Kelly, just calls to be called. I don't really think there was a lot of intent on them. And obviously, Geno didn't have confidence. The O-line didn't have confidence in the calls. And if they can just get a little confidence, I think it'll change some things, right? They've been competitive in some games. They've been ass in others. We need to play the rookies 100%. I mean, I'm down with playing the rookies. Still suffering, I see. I mean, I'm going to be suffering until we win a Super Bowl, my G, to be honest. Let me see that sweatshirt, bro. That's all. The sweatshirt, bro. Sweatshirt is, bam. That's what it is, bro. That's what it is, bro. There you go. Raiders are pussies and gays. That is not a very nice statement. Why would you say such a thing like that? I bet you wouldn't say that shit to anybody on that team's face except for maybe the kicker. You still probably get your ass beat. We know the Raiders are trash. We know. Gino needs to sit out a game punishment for flipping off Hug D's. Yeah, shout out to Hug D's in the building for getting flipped off for Geno Smith, man. Um, what is that? Oh, the T-shirt. Bro, I ain't showing you my pants, bro. Jesus, they say Raiders, dog. They're Raider sweats. Raider sweats. That's what I got on. What? Shit, are they home already? Damn. Cool. What? All right, man. Let's go over these stats real quick. This dog's gonna be loud and annoying. But that's not it. No, not those ones. All right, man. So, players to watch out for. I think Carter Runyon could be a sleepy guy. I think Tyler Lockett also, is somebody to watch out for. The Raiders on offense are averaging 15 points a game. The Chargers 22.4 points a game. What up? What up? Look, hold on there. The offense is averaging 295.4 points a game, and the Chargers is averaging 367. Man, the Raiders have their work cut out for them, definitely. in there somewhere. She's been going crazy today. Uh, Passing yards per game. The Raiders are only giving up 215.9 passing yards per game. So this is why our defense, a lot of people say our defense is trash, but I'm sure any defense in the NFL would be happy with giving up 215 passing yards a game. The Chargers, on the other hand, are giving up 252 passing yards per game. So can the Las Vegas Raiders, with Greg Olson now calling plays and this offensive line with these receivers and Brock Bowers, take advantage of this defense, right? You're giving up more yardage than we're giving up passing. We just have to take advantage of opportunities. And the Raiders have had many opportunities this year in plenty of games. They've just failed to capitalize. We've been in the red zone, I don't know how many times, and walked away with nothing, not even 3 sometimes. So not good. Again, maybe this change will change some shit, but 252 passing yards is a bunch. The Raiders on the ground are only giving up 79 yards per game. Good Lord, how long should I bark? Fuck. The Chargers, on the other hand, they are giving up 115.7 rushing yards on the ground. They got absolutely murked on the ground last week, and I do believe. Good Lord, I'm gonna murder that dog, bro. Sorry, everybody just got home from Thanksgiving. So yeah, man, the Raiders need to take advantage with Ashton Genty, Raheem Mostert, and hell, even Dylan Labe at this point. Get them out of the backfield. Don't make them in pass protection. Just hand off the ball to them once in a while with an opportunity to make plays, right? 12 personnel, 13 personnel. Run the young man with his speed. Let him get out there to the outside. I want to see all hands on deck. I wouldn't even mind if they brought up Chris Collier for this game, just to give us that strength in the middle that we've been lacking. But if the Raiders could take advantage of, these two stats, right? 252 yards passing per game and 115 yards rushing per game, I think we have a chance, right? I think we have a chance, but our defense has to come through, obviously. Time of possession. Damn that dog, bro. About to put on headphones. Time of possession. The Raiders are averaging 21 seconds per game. Not great. The Chargers, on the other hand, they hold on to the ball 32 minutes a game, 32 minutes and 33 seconds to be exact. Third down percentage. The Raiders have the worst in the NFL, top 3, 36.2 third down percentage, 25th in the NFL. So I guess bottom 6. The Chargers, on the other hand, have a 45.8 third down percentage. That is third in the NFL. Not a very great stat. Defensive wise, points allowed per game. The Raiders, 25.2. Some of those, okay, I'd even say probably 60% of those have been, big plays, just poor tackling. 2 by Max Crosby last week, to matter of fact. Just bad tackling, bad position, right? You're going on the inside, you leave contained on the outside, wide open, and the running back, takes it for a huge gain. You can't freestyle out there. You have to play as a team and you have to play together. And I think Max hurts us a lot, but on stuff like that. But anyways, 25.2 points a game allowed. The Chargers are only giving up 21.6. So don't look for this to be a shootout. The under, I think, the over-under is 44.5, I do believe. Probably be a wise choice. I'm not gonna say whether it is or not. Total yards allowed per game: 321 for the Raiders, 286 for the Chargers. That is a huge difference. Passing yards allowed: 172 for the Chargers. Three, two, whatever, 218 for the Las Vegas Raiders. So, damn, that's not good. Passing yards allowed, rushing yards allowed. They're giving up over 100 on the ground. Like I said, you have to take advantage of that 113 yards on the ground for Ashton Genty. But the Raiders' numbers as of late have went up. They are also giving up 103 yards on the ground. Sack wise, not good for Geno Smith, who had 10 points last week with 10 sacks. A horrible, horrible stat that nobody ever wants to hear or have to say as a commentator. The Chargers have 29 sacks on the season. That's 11th in the NFL. The Raiders are only at 20. That's 27th in the NFL. Once again, with a $36 million man who just got an extension. I know he's not the only reason, but damn, we are at the bottom of the sacks again, and again. The Cowboys just traded Michael Parsons. They seem to be doing just fine and have a whole bunch of picks to get better. Just something to think about. Interceptions: 10 for the Chargers, 7 for the Raiders, 19th for the Chargers, 18th for the Raiders. So it's going to be one of those dog fights, but it could also be one of those games. And I'm going to say it like this, and y'all already know. It could be one of those games, man, that if the Chargers go up early by more than a touchdown, right? If it's 10-3, 10-7, 10-0, right? 13-3, the game is done. Usually, if they're down by 3, the game, if it's 3-0, they haven't won this year. So, except for the Patriots game, I do believe. Other than that, if the Raiders cannot start out hot, if they cannot take advantage of mismatches with Brock, with Dante Thornton Jr., with even Jack Besh, who is a mismatch on a lot of inside slot receivers trying to cover that man when you have your best guy on Brock Bowers. So I believe things are going to look different. I expect it to look different. I expect the Raiders to use these rookies a little bit more to at least see what we got. We are now in week 13 and we are running out of time to evaluate the draft. And, I believe Pete Carroll and John Spytek are at the point where they're butting heads. And I think, it's kind of looking like Pete Carroll's like, well, fuck it. If I'm going out, right? If I'm going out banging. I'm not playing your rookies. I'm not giving you any evaluation for the next year. I'm giving you nothing to look at. And this is just my opinion. I don't think Pete Carroll will do that, but this is what it seems like to me. It seems like he already knows that he's on his way out. And he's like, bro, why play these rookies? Why give you any evaluation for the next year when you just gave me a $3 million contract and you're going to do me like you've done the last 2 coaches in a row? So when it gets to that point, man, it gets ugly. It's been ugly. Shout out for the $2 holler Raiders. Hit those like buttons. I appreciate you. Let's go Texas. Hook 'em horns. Are they up? I'm kind of listening at the same time. But yeah, man, so we are coming up on an hour. If nobody else has anything to say, if nobody has any comments, shit, I appreciate y'all, and I'm just going to dip. So, how do y'all feel? Oh, my score predictions. I feel if Ashton Genty can get over 80 yards, right, on the ground, and he can get some help from Raheem Mostert, maybe, Trey Tucker out of the backfield. I don't know why they ain't using Dante Thornton with his speed at 6'5" and a 4.3 40. Why has this kid not touched the ball one time on a reverse, on an end around, right? So if we come up with some trick plays, if we can get our fast guys, our speed guys in motion, and run the ball, I think the Raiders have a hell of a shot. If we can't, if it's the same old scenario, right? If the offensive line, if the play call is the same, if Geno's the same Geno, look for another blowout, man. The Chargers have had 10 days to prepare. The Raiders are coming off a loss to a shitty um, Cleveland Browns team. So, I mean, not a shitty Cleveland Browns team, but a rough offense with, one of the best defenses in football, but a 32nd ranked offensive line we cannot get pressure on. Max Crosby needs to eat in this game, right? Their two top tackles are out. They are on IR. They are backups. If Max Crosby even doubled, even tripled, it doesn't matter, bro. You have to have at least 2 sacks minimum in this game, um, 2 or 3 tackles for a loss, hopefully a turnover. If none of that happens, if he's a non-factor again, which he has been, in my opinion. Hate me if you want to; it's all good. But in my opinion, he's been a non-factor in a lot of these games the last couple of weeks. And maybe you just trying to stay healthy and not check out. But if we can get the best Max Crosby, if we can get help again from a guy like Malcolm Kuntz, Tyree Wilson, right? 19% win rate last week. I do believe the last 3 weeks in a row he's had a win rate better than Max Crosby. Um, tackles for a loss have been up there too. So Tyree Wilson's coming around also, man. But I appreciate y'all. Love y'all. Have a happy weekend. And shit, I'll see y'all tomorrow. Peace. Much love. Raiders. Just get it.